our channel, Bipolar Disorder. I'm here with my co-host David. Say hi, David.
Hi, David.
So we're gonna be talking about today about what it, how bipolar has affected your love life and your relationship with friends and family. But first, we're gonna start speaking about our type of bipolar. David is gonna start, so take it away, David.
I guess I am going to start. And first, I just want to say thanks again for just being who you are, and just been great. Also, want to preface or preface, however you want to hear that word. This is just us talking.
Really, just that.
It's just us talking. We're going to just talk about how mental health applies to us. So really, just take from what you will. So I'm bipolar combined, and if I was to literally describe how it is for me, I have two trains of thoughts. One, the world means nothing. It's nothing at all. None of this means anything. There's nothing bigger out there. It's just worthless. And then the other side is it's all important. It all means something. Everything is important. Value everything. Constantly battling this what's the point? Don't do it. Make it important. Make it constantly. So that's how my bipolar is. How is yours to you?
I have bipolar disorder type 1, which basically is more highs and lows. Basically, I'm very impulsive. Sometimes I suffer from hypersexuality, which can lead to very bad decisions. And when I'm in a high, I feel like I am invincible, that I am the hottest guy in the world. I feel super awesome. I make the worst type of decisions, very impulsive, and when I'm in a low, I'm like barely there, to put it in place. And when I'm in the intermediate between high and low, it's like nothing matters to me. I don't have any energy. I just basically just wing it and everything. So that's how it affects me in a daily basis. We're gonna start with how does bipolar affect you on your love life? Want me to start, David?
You know what? Yes, you know what? Yes, absolutely.
So, on my personal experience, and before I start, side note, this isn't like a professional thing or recommendation. This is just our experiences. So you guys have an idea and don't feel as alone or crazy as people make you out to be. So keep in mind, this is from our perspective, just putting it out there. So to me, with the love life thing, I've never felt like I am enough, that I'm not worthy, that I do not deserve love, because I feel like my mind takes me to so many dark places that I am not enough, like I said, and like I do not deserve to be loved because I am broken and I'm damaged. And when I get into that headspace, which is really hard to get out of, your mind is your own worst enemy, because you keep looking for. Basically, I always bend over backwards for everyone else because I am so scared that I'm gonna be left alone and die alone. That is my one of my biggest fears, actually. So when it comes to love life, I never had a partner that really understands or is willing to go the extra mile by looking up what is bipolar, which is so simple. We have the whole internet to get information, and it seems like we're on the 17th century where no information is available. You believe whatever rumor you hear. So for the longest time, I felt so broken that I felt like I wasn't worthy of anyone. Right now, I am in a relationship, and it's great. One of the things that made me fall for my boyfriend was that the first thing that he said, well, that he did after I told him, was look up the information online on bipolar disorder. One of the other things that surprised me too was like the way that he looked at me before never changed. Usually when I tell people about my bipolar, they treat me like I am handicapped, like I am incompetent, like I am a charity case, which is not the point, the real issue here. I mean, I never felt as affected by someone's, you know, inability to understand and comprehend how hard it is for us. You know, our minds are always going like 100 miles per hour. So imagine just like trying to think, but you're trying to think about all the things that you have done in the past on your life, present, and even in the future, something that has never happened. No matter how you prepare yourself, you're never really ready for anyone's reaction once you tell them. You know, you have a lot of mixed feelings. You feel ashamed, broken. You don't want them to think that you're broken. And also, really, something really that I hate, I don't like asking for help because I don't want to be a burden, especially for the people that already know about my bipolar. Because you can see it in the way they treat you. They might think or try to tell you they understand, but you know deep inside that they don't really do. They try to, and that's commendable, but you know, it's easier to speak to someone with bipolar because you feel like you can say anything because they have been where you are and you feel that there's no judgment, and that's one thing that I want to get across with this podcast is that you're never alone. That's like my main goal because a lot of people feel so alone in this and are so scared to ask for help that they never really open up about this or even say thoughts out loud of what they're thinking because they are having trouble too. It's really hard for us to deal with every little day simple things. You know, you may have like an errand to run or going to a meeting or interview, and you're thinking about so many things and how that simple task may go, but it rarely prepares you because when the thing happens, you thought that it was gonna go like 1,000 ways different, and you fuck it up most of the time because you overthought every little detail. So keep in mind that we're not thinking about one thing at a time. We're trying to prepare ourselves. In my experience with bipolar, um, I like to control everything around me because I feel like my emotions are not my own. So like I cannot control my emotions. I try to control everything else, which is really hard to do. But I do it anyway. I keep trying and I keep, like posting everything so you guys can see that this is hard but not impossible to deal with.
Absolutely.
How about you, David?
I am a fantastic host. I am a lousy roommate.
Likewise.
When I'm on, I'm absolutely one of the best people in the world to be around. When I always tell people, I was like, I've got to live with me. Like I've been suicide. Like I've almost killed me. I don't like myself at times. Like I get it. But going back to it, a lot of it's, just the executive functioning, where it impacts us, ADHD, which I also have, bipolar, that's impacting that same part of the brain. So I've always told people, like, my mind is like, if you close your eyes and you imagine a plane, like 60 of them flying Mach 7, flying in a big, thick cloud with rain coming around, and you can't grab onto a concept or an idea long enough to explain it, which is, why we are already meandering through this. But that's my brain constantly when it's not on meds, when I'm not focused. So when I'm not, I'm just an absolute kind of terrible person inadvertently because I'm just not thinking about, or I'm thinking about, like you said, every single thing. And, okay, Why aren't you calling me back? What did I say wrong? What didn't I do? Even if it's 2 seconds or 3 seconds, if it's not that immediate thing and I'm not in a good space, I'm a wreck. So it's not very easy to deal with because it's either hot, cold, and when I'm really good, it's just this lukewarm 72 degrees in my mind all the time with a breeze.
I know.
You can't, it's so difficult to maintain. And then my problem is, and I don't pick the best people. I've had some really great relationships. Don't get me wrong. Fantastic people who took really good care of my heart and my soul and just didn't work out. But I've also picked a lot of bad people because I tend to either gravitate towards people I want to try and fix or help because I needed fixing or helping, or I tend to gravitate towards people who are pretty okay but will see that I will just give, and they can just take. And it takes me a while to figure out what's going on. So I've also had a lot of relationships where they just suck everything they can out of me, and I don't realize it because I just want to, like I said, I'm a great host. I'm a lousy, because they just don't stop.
That's like a gateway for them to manipulate us into thinking that we need them when it's the opposite. They need us for something, and as soon as they get what they want, they just ghost us and leaves us there hanging with no explanation on why they did what they did. So it's really hard on that point too.
Well, and for me, I've been in some pretty bad abusive relationships, both physical and mental and psychological, like the whole shebang. And it's just one of those things where when I try to explain it to my friends what was happening, they were like, "You're a guy, they're a girl." I was like, "You don't understand. Like, you just," and nobody actually believed me. And it was just so. But like I said, a lot of good people. But I've also been in some really bad abusive relationships because I'm always like, it's my fault. You're right. I'm sorry. I suck. I don't deserve to be happy. My bad. And that was a big break for me.
And the guilt of it all is even worse than any type of high or low, because you feel guilt because you think that you're being selfish because you want happiness. But you know what? Everybody, if it's that the case, everybody is super selfish. Everybody is looking for a way to be better at everything. And when we do things for ourselves, simple things like just moving out of your home, getting into a new relationship, people don't understand how difficult it can be because you feel like you do not deserve this happiness that life has given you or that you have gotten for yourself, and you feel like broken. You have mixed feelings, and your mind does not help. Sometimes I feel like someone is screaming at me, and I can barely hear what they're saying, but I still cannot hear them.
Yes.
And
yes.
That is, your thought becomes so loud that you cannot focus on anything at all. That's a real big thing, guilt. And one of the main reasons that I did this podcast on the Twitter account is to, give out the resources, at least the information from our point of view, so they don't feel alone or forgotten or broken or crazy as the world seems to treat you and give you the impression of.
We were talking earlier, by the way, I'm so glad that, so for those of you who heard the first one, I want to apologize. I know we were talking all over each other, but you guys know what it's like when you finally find people that understand and whatnot, and you're finishing each other's sentences. So this time we're actually being able to actually have a physical conversation, see each other, and it's just so much more enjoyable. So this is going better. What was the question? I just forgot because I was so happy that we're doing this now.
And guys, keep in mind, this is the second time that we speak, and the first one that we are actually knowing what we look like because we have the cam on this recording so we can interact better, and it feels like we know each other for so long. We feed off each other's energy, and it's so exciting. This project for me is like my baby. I'm excited. This has so much potential to reach so many people that really need to hear this kind of things. And I'm psyched, and I'm so grateful that you guys are taking the time out of your day just to listen to us talk about some serious issues about being bipolar, to break the stigma and, open other people's minds and inspire,
Be okay to be whatever you are, and it's fantastic. Just embrace it all. And that was the big step for me when I finally was like, I just had this great memory one time. We were talking about why we're great in relationships, weren't we? We just sidetracked. Or this is a relationship, right? We'll dial it back a little bit. My problem is that whenever I started beating myself up with the thoughts and everything, and I didn't like the voices, and it's not like voices, it's your voice.
It's your voice
talking negative at you. That's when I abused alcohol a lot, because I just wanted to disconnect. I wanted to just shut that person down. And so
that demon down.
Right?
I use pills to disconnect from my own self, because one thing that I always struggle is like whenever I cannot deal with myself, I force myself to take a nap. So I cannot imagine what it's like for other people that are on the outside looking in. And I sometimes don't understand how people deal with me and just love me for all that I am. I mean, you guys deserve love, happiness, and you guys, you deserve to follow your own dreams. And remember, and this is something really important for me, you are never alone.
Never. But, not a but, you're never alone. The demons part, when I ride my mountain bike, because that's how when I ride my mountain bike, I am releasing my demons. I ride angry, I ride mean, I throw music, and then every horrible, despicable, dark, negative thought, anything I have, I just say to my mind. And I mean, I ride hard, but like, I remember doing this as a kid because I didn't find out I was bipolar until like 2011, 12. So I can remember as a kid, I made a punching bag, and I would just punch the punching bag until I bloodied like you could still see scars on my knuckles, because I didn't know what to do with my rage and my anger and my bad thoughts. And so that's why I understand why people blade and cut. Like, I get it, but I wish I didn't have to at the time. And I now know that there's healthier ways to deal with it. And that's the best thing for me, because I've changed my diet. I've started exercising. I've taken control of it. And that's a really positive thing. Now, I say all that, and I'm in the best place. So going back to the original thing about relationships, I've never been this person that I am now. I feel like I'm becoming the closest I've ever been. There are some really admirable people that were in my life that really fought the good fight for a good long time, and just one too many. But they're like the ones that I really felt I did wrong, for the most part. We've talked, we've forgiven. The one that really kind of got away, she's happily married with her 2 kids now, and every time I'm like, it could have been me. All right, never mind. Not meant to be. So,
and that takes you to a dark place sometimes, because and going back to you hard biking, it's like a metaphor in a way that you're trying to like outrun yourself and get away from yourself. Same as me, like, taking naps, forced naps, just to get away from myself. And it's really hard and complicated.
You want to outrun your shadow.
Yeah, like
it didn't look back.
That proverb about who you are is the wolf that you feed is the one that's gonna be there and affect you the most. So by doing this, we are reaching a lot of people that do not have the resources to go to a doctor, or feel isolated, or just feel like they don't deserve to even live, And it's really hard and complicated. When I see people struggling like I try to like bend over backwards and help them, because I would have loved to have someone there when I was struggling that actually knew what was going on with me at that time.
But it's hard to, because I didn't know what was going on. It's a hard thing to explain. Mm-hmm. You've done something wrong, but I'm yelling at you. You've done nothing bad at all, but now I'm just... And, I realize now it's because I was unhappy with myself, and you're taking that, because that's project. That's when people get mad and antagonize and yell at other people. There's a flaw in them that they're taking out
And you project yourself to the other person, so you try extra hard to help them. And one thing is to help someone and one thing to help someone, but if your cup is empty, you cannot pour it into someone else because there's nothing there. So you're not helping that other person, and you're sinking in deeper in your own self, and it's really hard. And it is really easy to talk to David about this because he understands. He knows what it's like. He's been there. So it's easy. It's like opening a dam that is about to collapse because everything just like goes out in your mind. Is thinking about all the topics that you want to do. Questions come in and out, answers in and out. You're like, oh my God, fuck. This is exactly what I was feeling. He gets it. And that's the thing, it's addictive because you bounce off each other and you feed off each other and it makes you fucking feeling amazing. And hashtag you're never alone. I
I know.
want to
See,
start that going on.
and all I want to do is keep talking and be like, yes, yes, yes. If you can see, I don't know if you're going to see it, but I'm like doing the rock sign and just smiling because you're trying to shut up. Because he's like, you're saying it better than anybody in the world. And I think the thing that people don't understand about people with mental health is we're our own harsh critics. We're brutal to ourselves. There's nobody who's ever said anything to me that's even remotely close to the stuff that I've said. The problem is, and this is a true story, I'll give you an example of how I'm wired. My parents would have me pick my punishment.
Okay. Weird.
And like one time, no, they knew what they were doing. Because I talked to my mom about it and I was like, why did you pick my punishment? She's like, oh, because we knew you would just drop the hammer on yourself. And you would
yeah, it makes sense.
I was like, are you serious? And she's like, oh, yeah. I was like, when I got a speeding ticket, I was thinking maybe a week or two. I was like, I grounded myself for a month. Yeah. So it's this. The problem, though, is there's always a little bit of truth to everything that people say. Now, sometimes it's just sarcastic, but if I'm in the wrong state and I'm in a relationship and somebody says just the littlest thing that hits a little bit, I'm not getting mad at them. I'm literally just destroying and pounding myself. And I guess this is 46 years of coming where all I've done is just obliterate Humpty Dumpty and built him back up. But I do it all the time, and it's just
every day.
I feel like I'm just eating, gaining knowledge, going in a cocoon, becoming a butterfly. Eating, gaining knowledge, going to a cocoon, butterfly.
Improving.
And I just haven't the right butterfly yet, too.
Yeah, it's all about that. And another thing that I was gonna say is that sometimes you have your friends, right? And
I have some of the best in the world.
You have like a relationship where you're always okay, and then one day that person doesn't talk to you or doesn't text you, you start thinking, what the hell did I do? What did I do? Why aren't they replying as fast? Why are they not answering my calls? Oh my God, I did something. I must have done something to like fuck it up again. And that's something that I go through like every day. And you ask that person like, are we okay? Is anything wrong? Did I say something? Did I offend you? And they're like, no, I'm fine. You just are having a hard day. I'm like, but and you keep insisting like, but are you sure that it's not about us? Are you sure that I didn't say anything? And that fucks you up a lot, actually, mentally.
Oh, people, no, I'm kind of, the only thing that I've ever seen the closest to explaining to somebody is there's a movie called Swingers. It's by Jon Favreau. And he has this bit where he's calling this person and trying to have a conversation on an answering machine. And it keeps beeping at the wrong time. And so he keeps calling back. And he calls like 20-something times because he's trying to say the perfect thing and he can't. That's what it's like. And then, you can't. You're like, oh, one more thing. One more. No. I didn't. And then you can just, yeah. Ugh.
It's really hard to deal with our own minds because we are wired in a totally different way that regular people do. Or
what's regular? Like, you know what? Never mind. I'm not gonna go. Right. You know what? I'm not going there. Anyhow, we'll focus up.
Way.
That's the thing. Like, if like I'm not going into anything political or social media at all, right? But if what I watch, there's a reason I'm off social media. Because when I look at stuff and I'm like, if that's normal, we always joke about this. There's a great expression that I love. When you can't see the crazy person on the train, you are, in fact, the crazy person on the train. This is easy for me because I am generally the craziest person on the train. I always know I'm like, yep, I'm the craziest person here. So when I'm not, that blows my mind. And the other thing that absolutely makes me miserable to be around in relationships is because sometimes I really get it and sometimes I don't. And sometimes when I don't, I acknowledge that I do, but I do. And there's this not consistency of like, no, I gotta get it. And I will snap because I heard you, but I didn't acknowledge that they heard me. I've been like, I'm correcting the behavior. And then as soon as I make that same behavior once, they jump on it again. I'm like, I listened. And I think I would have saved a lot of trouble if I could have just said this. You know what? I should have pulled a Mr. Rogers. That's a really great point of view. I hadn't thought of that. Yes. Yes, I will look into that. Let me get back to you. Because I'm also 100% known as some of the nicknames that I've had over the years. Dave's the only person that could get away with saying that. I literally, if you could see what we're like, the wink and nod, he's literally, I would kind of hope this does. Maybe it's just our voices anyhow.
We're trying a different thing to see if when I upload the video, you can see us so you can see who you're listening to anyways. So David, let's start with how bipolar has affected you with family members. You go.
Well, I guess the other thing that's going to be really interesting is that, I'm still figuring out who I am at 46. Mm-hmm. I mean, I haven't hit my peak yet. I haven't hit my prime. Like, I'm finally becoming the best version of me. So for my parents, I know that my parents just wanted everything perfect. They wanted a perfect world for their sons, and they wanted everything to be perfect. And we just don't live in a perfect world. So, for my parents, they never disown me. They love me. They've been the most supportive. And by the way, the most entertaining parents somebody could have too. Like everything. I love them dearly, and they have always supported me. But it's very difficult to try and explain to people what you can't explain to yourself.
Exactly.
So they've always supported me. And then with my close family, I have really good relationships with, and they've always been super supportive. So I'm very, very fortunate that I've never had a want for nothing. I've never had to, but I did need therapy, and I needed intense therapy because there are things that you will say to a therapist that you want to say to other people, and you should not.
David, are you an only child?
No, I got an older brother.
Okay, so next question for you. How did your parents react when you actually had the right diagnosis?
Okay, so this is a really interesting story. So it all, for me, started with ADHD. And that was 95. And this was the big one because I just felt, and school was always a struggle for me. And so, you're always battling with the confidence there, right? Someday, history just sung to me. I just loved history because it was like, these people did something so important that they remembered them. Now, the downside to history is that they usually do something pretty bad to get in a history book. And so, let me just, because I'm starting to get too excited again, because I just love, dial back a little bit. Ask that question again. I'll get this right better.
Okay, how did your parents react when you had the actual diagnosis on what you really had, not the depression,
right?
But what in bipolar exactly, the diagnosis?
Yeah. Okay. It's a really hard thing to describe, and this is why I don't want. It felt shame on themselves. And you could just see like they were blaming themselves for my stuff, and it had nothing to do with them. It's just who I am. And that's a little gut-wrenching because, like, I think my mom is kind of mortified when I talk about it because I think she believes it has something to do with her, that she was a bad parent. And look at, my mom was a blast, but they were human beings. My parents were right about laser tag. It was stupid for me to get because I was the only kid in the neighborhood to ever get a laser tag. But they were wrong about throwing out the Boba Fett and Darth Vader big life-size Star Wars dolls we had because those things are worth like $30,000. So they're human beings. But they just wanted the best for the kids. And I think when you're not in their minds, when you got a mental illness, like you're not 100%, and I think every parent probably, and I'm 100% a human being. So
Definitely.
How about you? Now I'm going to shut up because I want to hear one because I'm fascinated that the other wasn't. But anyhow, so blows my mind. How is it when you told them you had a mental?
So, since my mom has depression, a recurrent depression that is never gonna really go away, she understood, but in a way, she was relieved because when I finally, and I don't want to cry or anything, when I finally got that diagnosis, I felt like I'm not crazy. I am not a bad person. The way that I'm behaving can be explained. So I remember that she told me, listen, we're gonna get through this. I love you no matter what. Now I understand why you were so mean because I can be a pretty mean bipolar. Like, because you know what? Sometimes when I feel like really pissed, I don't want to accept this, but this is real. Something that I do. I like to treat people really bad just because it makes me feel better to to step all over them. And I'm not proud of that fact, but it's real. It's something that I do. When I'm really angry, I take it out on everyone. I want to start fights, arguments. I just make you feel like you're dirt. And I'm not happy about that, but I am dealing with this. I'm 33. Um, and for the first time in forever, I am getting there.
Right.
Slowly but steady.
Now, the question that I want to, because you said something that was so beautiful, the question that you should ask is, how did I feel when I found out I was bipolar?
That was my next question, but you jumped into asking me.
Your story was so beautiful. I was almost in tears. So this is how it happened. I was inadvertently diagnosed depression because when I got diagnosed with ADHD, which being diagnosed with ADHD, see, I can come full circle. I can get back to it. Was huge because it was like finding this missing piece of the puzzle, and I could take meds and I learned how to study. This is a big thing that I think we both want to come across. Meds are one thing, but you've got to do all this other work. You got to learn how to study. You got to learn how to take care of yourself. You got to be healthy. And so it was like finding a missing piece of the puzzle. My life was crashing and destroying all around me. And I was working, I work in the field with people with disabilities, and I was going through a file. And everything. I was crying, tears were coming down. And I started reading this file on one of my students. And I was like, oh my God, this sounds like me. Holy shit, whoa, this is me. This is me. This is me. And I'm like flipping through like a book, so excited, like, holy shit. And I get to the end and it's like bipolar combined. And I was like, ha, I'm bipolar combined. And then I was like, oh, fuck, I'm bipolar. Shit. In this city.
Completely right, but the key word is that you feel validated. You feel like you're not crazy, that there's a reason behind everything. And it's easier. It gets easier after that.
And then you can control it.
Or try to.
Well, okay, you can. No. You see, you're younger than me. I've got some more. You still got. So you're going to even leapfrog and do more awesome stuff than I've done, and I've lived a pretty good life. I've been pretty positive influence on people, and you're already going to just, because you still got youth in you. I'm old dog, I'm a young 46.
I do. But but you have more experience, and it makes it even better because we have two perspectives. The young one, or not as old, and then not as young perspective with the, because you have gone through more things that I have, but not necessarily the same.
No. But man, so similar. There's so saying, there's stories you're talking about where I'm just like, oh God, yes. Seen it, done it, book coming out this summer. Hopefully, if it all goes well, the movie will be in production. Like, it's just so amazing. And we just met. And that's like the same thing.
It's like the question that you asked me, what was harder, coming out as gay or coming out as bipolar? And I said, coming out as bipolar. That's crazy.
It's insane.
I have a mental health condition, not a sexual orientation. It shouldn't be worse, but it was, actually. I remember taking my meds in secret. I would be like, oh, I'll be right back. I'm going to the bathroom and just, take all that medication and come back out. And I'm like, that was, and people were like, you were in there like pretty quickly. What were you doing? I just had something on my eye. I wanted just to take it out. And then they like, then why did you close the door? Yeah, because I like my privacy. But if I have a booger and I wanted to take it out?
My meds experience is so different than your meds experience. So I wasn't on meds when I was young. I had failed out of college, almost failed out of another one, got diagnosed with ADHD, and I started taking Ritalin. And that was great because my mind could, like, focus. And I didn't know what that was like. That was the most amazing feeling. It was like the Matrix. Actually, if you want to know, and my mind is focused now, but not like it is when the Ritalin is just crushing it. It's like the Matrix. Things get slow. The problem is that as focused as I can be, I'm talking with you, and it's just brush for. This is why we all don't need to try and be around each other at the same time, because we will have a billion great ideas and get nothing accomplished.
Yeah, because like you said, you should never start a new project. You have to fix the ones that you have, because you're not going to get anywhere. Because you're not going to do any of them. You're just going to like start, not accomplish anything. And I study psychologist, then I dropped out. I took a photography class, so I was a photographer for a little bit. Then I took a massage therapy class. I was doing that for a while. I went back to college to get a degree in programming, which I fucked it up and gave up and just like dropped out, because I was trying to start so many different things at the same time that I couldn't focus on one. So I never got anything accomplished.
Well, one of the biggest things I can always go back to, I'll never forget this. This is from my wrestling coach in high school. And this is something that has never left me to this day. He's one of my favorite human beings. And there's two moments that I always remember. One, I beat a kid in wrestling, but it went like 3 periods, right? And I beat him handily, and I come walking off the mat smiling, and he's like, wipe that smile off your face. You should have pinned him in the first period. We're in a tournament. You needed that, right? Mm-hmm. And then I lost to a kid, and I come off crying like mad, and he's like, what are you mad about? And I was like, well, I lost. He goes, yeah, but you only lost by a couple of points, which is all I needed. And now we know how to beat him, and you'll beat him the next time. And I said, I can't figure this out. And he goes, David, here's the deal. I'll give you a piece of advice, and it's very simple. It's not about winning or losing. It's how you win or lose. And the only time you'll ever lose in life is when you walk away from something and you don't learn anything from it. Mistakes are going to happen. You're going to have flaws. Things aren't going to go perfect. But if you walk away from something and you don't learn anything, then that is a loss. You can get defeated, but the best people in the world, and that's never a lot. And that has been kind of one of the things that I always think about when the bipolar starts getting negative. I'm like, you know what? This is another experience. It's another experience. It's another learning experience. What can I learn from this experience? What can I gain from this experience? I stopped asking. I used to be like, why? Why is this happening to me? And then it was like, okay, why is this happening to me? And it's changed to, why not happen to me? Bring it. Okay.
Yeah, I get it. So, David, how is being bipolar affected you on your relationship with your friends?
No, you go first. I talked a
Okay,
lot just a minute ago.
I'll go. I'll go.
I'll go.
So, okay, I had friends that they didn't really understand what was going on with me because they were having a hard time because I was like living out the part that I'm bipolar. So when I was self-medicating, they thought that I had an addiction problem, which in a way it was, but actually I was taking my meds, and sometimes I was just a zombie. I wasn't there. Um, People would get pissed at me because the medication, um, especially lithium, has so many side effects like memory loss. So people would be, oh, remember that day we went to the river? And I'm like, when? This day you did this. And I'm like, was I even there? And I feel embarrassed because I don't remember. And I could be the funniest guy and the best company when I'm up here, but it could also be the worst kind when I'm down here. Because I'm pretty mean, pretty bitchy. I complain about everything and anything. I I had a lot of trouble opening up to people because, like I said before, once you tell your friends that you're bipolar, you see the way that they look at you is completely different. Like they, you feel like they are walking on eggshells just because they don't know how to help you, but they don't. But also they don't have take most of them don't even take the time to look up what bipolar is. So for me, the best way for a friend to give me support is just to sit next to me and just don't say anything because when you're in a high, low, or whatever, you're gonna get pissed about any feedback that you're gonna get because you're not seeing it because you're way up here, way down here, and you're concentrating on all the negative. So I was telling David that I had this friend, which I did something for that person out of the goodness of my heart. And when I told the person that I was bipolar and I was on my meds, that person gave me an ultimatum that broke me. This person, we know each other for 10 years. We live together. And one day she comes up to me and she says, if you don't stop taking your meds, we cannot be friends anymore. And that was like a knife to my heart, my back, and my soul. I mean, it still hurts today. It's been a couple of years. I'm not over it, but I am accepting the fact that I didn't lose her. She lost me, right? Because I am the type of person that I want to do so much for my friends, even if they don't ask for my help, because I know what it's like. Because sometimes you feel invisible, because your friends say, "Are you okay?" And you, "Yes, I'm okay," but they don't. They stop there. They don't really ask, or hmm, John isn't like this all the time. There's something going on, and instead of like them digging to find out, they just, oh, okay, and then you get pissed because they didn't help you, but then you get pissed with yourself because you didn't tell them, and you're like on a crossroads where you say, who is wrong, me or them? And it usually comes to be me. How can I expect someone to understand what's going on with me when I'm not being crystal clear on what's happening? And it's because you feel like you're not strong enough to get through stuff, and it's really hard to ask for help when you're in a bad place or whatever. And it's really hard to talk about this, and it breaks you. It really does. And I got mixed reactions. I had one guy that said, "So you're bipolar," but I have other friends that says like, "Oh, okay," and then they stop talking to you until they're gone. But like I said, guys, it's not your loss. It's theirs.
Yeah,
David,
but in fairness, we are pretty hard to take. I mean, we're a lot to deal with. I'm just saying, like,
we are.
the only reason I call my friends anymore is because I'm just fucking curious as who's gonna pick up. I'm like, wow, really? All right.
Word.
Like, literally, I'll call. I leave my phone on for people to call all the time. They don't call. Because, I mean, I'm a lot. I get it. But everything you said, everything you just said, I mean, it's just, yes. Like, for me, all of my diagnoses were a huge relief. For my friends that stayed with me, a person once described meeting me as a concussion grenade going off. A bunch of people die, a bunch of people get wounded and leave, but whoever stays is a friend of mine for like life. I mean, there's people that I would die for in a minute and vice versa. So I've been very fortunate where I've got, one of the reasons I could say I'm single is because I just would have a huge best man party, but it'd be like 10 to 12 like of just the best human beings ever. So, but man, there's a couple that I really like. God bless them.
I had one friend that one time said after I told them about being bipolar, and their response was, "No wonder you're always a fucking bitch."
Right? There was one friend of mine that'd be like, "Here's the new rule. I will fucking talk to you only if you're on your meds." I was like, okay, that's fair. And my meds were very important because they helped regulate me for a lot of years before I figured out diet and other exercise and other things. But I also got lucky with meds. I only had a few very bad experiences, but
Yeah, because it's a process. It's a hit and a miss to see what combination works for you. Right?
Every cocktail.
Those different medications, your behavior changes, the personality, your perspective, your own worth changes. So it's a lot. But once you have that right combo, you start seeing things in a new light. And like I said, never stop your treatment cold turkey because you want to try something else.
Start nothing. Don't start anything new.
Exactly.
Finish.
Give it first, and then go from there. Because if you skip the steps, it's like taking a test, but you didn't study and you're not reading the questions, and you're like going, A, B, 1, blank. It's like
100%.
about it.
Just my college experience, my whole educational experience in one perfect analogy right there. Yep.
Just in case you don't see this, he was like doing the
rock song.
Rock on.
Okay, I do too. One is the sign language for I love you, and one is for the rock. So it's always rock on and I love you. So there you go.
Rock on and I love you. Guys, remember that you have to love yourself.
Oh.
I know that it's really hard, but once you start knowing your own worth, you can start moving on and concentrating on what will make you a better person.
Yes, but here's the thing. It's not hard, folks. It's not. It just starts very simple loving yourself. Mm-hmm. You can just massage your hands. You can you're a massage therapist. You can just start gently massaging and just treating yourself better. I know sometimes it thinks it's impossible, and you're looking down a tunnel and you feel like it's a train bearing. You see the light at the end of the tunnel and you think it's a train, but it's not. It's hope. It can get better. It does get better if you allow it to. I know people think it's hard, but it's so simple. When it finally starts, you're like, oh my gosh, I can love myself. I'm a good person. I'm not alone. I could be happy. I could be this joyous. This is where I want to reside, in this bipolar. This is what I love my bipolar, because I'm like this now all the time, and I'm not the other side, the Incredible Hulk. It's
like
not
massages. For me, it's sketching. Let me go get a painting that I did with charcoal. Keep talking while I get it.
He's an artiste. This is funny. Like, I feel like we're in an intermission. He's back. Oh, that's good. I'm
not sure if when I upload this, you're going to be able to see it, but this is one of my paintings with charcoal.
Okay. For starters, that is utterly amazing and beautiful. That is just hauntingly awesome and beautiful. Second, I don't like talking. Don't ever leave again. And like, I'm kidding. Say we're codependent already. Don't do that. But I understand why you did, because it's beautiful. I hope people see that.
Yeah, I have a lot of paintings, but doing a painting, I just poured all of that negative energy, negative thoughts, or the pain that I have, and I just put it out there and just release it to the world.
Now you got to deal with the animals. I put my one cat on the porch and the other one's inside. So there you go. But there was a couple things that I wanted to go back to too. Where was it? Taking notes, I swear. I don't even care anymore, man. This is just.
So I'm bipolar, right? And
I established that.
thought I was a lefty, but actually I can write with both hands. I do most things with my left hand, but I'm pretty much doing everything else. So my mind is like split in the middle, and my hands can do everything.
Okay, and this is why I never want to be famous, because we are ambidextrous. And I always struggle with this because there was a professional basketball player who did layups with his left and right hand, and they interviewed him after a game, and he was like, I'm amphibious. And that's why I never want to be right.
Yes.
That's my mind right there. I know what I'm trying to say, but what comes out is never, ever exactly what in my head. I guess that's the other thing I want people to know sometimes is like, this is like the 11th thing that gets to escape. Nobody wants to hear the first 10.
No. I play baseball, and the coach was trying to make me do it as a right-handed, and I could never hit the ball. And he says like, what is going on? And I'm like, I don't feel comfortable. And he said to me, so how will you do it? So I went to my left side. Best batter on the team.
Yeah, if you're a left-handed pitcher, you're making millions of dollars. True story.
Yeah, but I cannot throw that good with my hand because I broke my elbow in 5 places and I shattered my wrist. So when my bones healed, they got fused. So I have like a less mobility now than before.
Bless anybody's heart who's still listening to this about how bipolar affects relationships. This is beautiful. This is exactly how bipolar. This is great. It's great for us. Like, I hope people also stick around.
I hope so. Guys, so we're about to wrap up because we're reaching the hour and go over the hour.
Thank you again for tweeting, man. Best thing I ever did was following you, and it was just because you were so just genuine and beautiful with your just. I was like, oh my gosh, this person's got to be in my life.
Guys, so we want to have some hashtags that we want you to use. My personal hashtag is #bipolar. You are never alone, because you're not actually. There's millions of us, around the world.
Millions.
Us as an outlet to get, information, comprehension, understanding without judgment. We're here for you guys.
One of my old favorite hashtags, we're not going to use it because his is perfect. That's what we're using. Probably Bipolar Club because we love them, and a bunch of variations of bipolar and mental health. And by the way, we're talking about mental health, and we happen to be bipolar. So yes. This also, this is mental health stuff. If this helps, great. But the one that I used to do was always like, F you bipolar. But I'm not that. I'm like, no, I love you bipolar now. Like, it's okay. We're good. I'm sorry. But I often say that my biggest kind of goal in life is, because I've had these moments where I felt like presence on me. I want to create the best version of myself. So when I see that person who I was, that little boy, that frightened boy who wanted to go in 5th grade swimming in the ocean and drown, that dude, thank you for being strong, and look at what happened because you didn't do that. Look at where we are. Thank you for being so strong.
And thank you for, just jumping into this new project.
Well, of course we are. I wish people could see our facial expressions. It would make this a lot more weird. Pantomiming each other all the time. Thank you again for this.
Guys, remember, #bipolar. you are never alone. Also, something really important. This is our personal feedback from our
Experiences.
experiences. This isn't like a professional thing. We're not doctors. We're here just to create awareness on this, breaking stigmas, and just making you feel less alone. This Do not ever think that this is like a legit like either diagnosis or therapy or anything, because we're speaking from our point of view with this disorder. Bro, I cannot say that enough. Just want to.
It's like a buffet. We are a buffet talking about mental health. Take what applies to you, right?
Right. So guys, this is gonna be it. I'm gonna start working with the editing of the podcast. I'm gonna, as soon as I have it ready, we'll be up on Twitter with all the links to Spotify or whatever you listen this to through this. And guys, remember, we're always here. If you have any questions, you can write to me. My handle is at bipolaron. What's yours, David?
IWA Fumbles.
What was the email that you wanted to give out, just in case they want to write questions or?
No, I was going to say just DM us.
Okay.
Or whatever it's called. I don't even Dungeon Master. I play Dungeons and Dragons too. What is it called? When they send you this is how, by the way, if you wanted to know how old and outdated I am, they can personally message us on Twitter if they have a question.
If they have a question, if you have a question, just DM. Or if you like.
Oh, it is DM. Okay.
If you, direct message.
Direct message.
To suggest the topic of an episode, just DM us at Twitter and we will deliver, guys. Have a great day, guys. David.
Much love, man. Be good.
Bye-bye.
That was great.